No.
Here, it's okay.
No.
Just calm down.
That is fake as shit. That is a dramatic. Yo.
Blake Lively isn't just losing a lawsuit, she's losing the plot. What was supposed to be her big swing against Justin Baldoni has spiraled into a courtroom circus where she is begging the judge to silence his lawyer, Brian Friedman, because his public statements hurt her PR. Imagine suing someone and then running to the court crying that their lawyer is being too mean on TMZ. That's not strategy, that's desperation. Wayfairer's response didn't just swat it down, it exposed her entire act for what it is. Wayfairer's lawyers didn't tiptoe around this. They went for the jugular. They told the court, in black and white, that Blake cannot start a public smear campaign and then cry foul when the other side defends themselves. One line from the filing hits harder than anything a gossip rag could spin. Plaintiff cannot initiate a public campaign of accusation and then cry foul when defendant's counsel responds to correct the record. That is lawyer speak for you, through the first punch. Now stop whining that you got hit back. This is where her logic really collapses. Blake tried to muzzle Friedman by claiming he was tainting the jury pool. But let's be honest, who has been blasting her accusations across every magazine, blog, and entertainment site for months? Not Baldoni, not Friedman. It's Blake's team. Spoon-feeding stories to the tabloids like it is their full-time job. Wayfairer saw the game and called it out. In another brutal line, they said, "What plaintiff seeks is not fairness, but control, the ability to speak freely while silencing all dissent." And that's it right there. Blake doesn't want justice. She wants a monopoly over the story. Now here's where things get even shadier. Out of nowhere, Isabella Ferrer, the actress who played young Lily in It Ends With Us, suddenly inserted herself into this mess. Her filings read like they were ghost-written by Blake's publicist. Same tone, same accusations, same villainizing of Baldoni, and the timing couldn't have been more convenient. Ferrer went from neutral to suddenly unfollowing Baldoni on social media right as Blake's lawsuit hit. Then, other cast members followed, almost like a coordinated campaign. It didn't look organic. It looked like orders were given, especially when she has said things like this.
A phenomenal intimacy coordinator, Lizzie. She's worked on Bridgerton before, so she was extra careful with us at all times. But also there was just a lot of communication and check-ins and making sure how are you feeling, how's it going, and a lot of water, making sure we feel physically but also mentally well, just while doing such intense scenes. It can get tiring, but it was a great process, honestly. Just everybody was so cooperative on set, and it was such a comfortable environment that when I see my work, I'm I feel good about it. Yeah,
makes it a lot easier when you like the person you're working with. You can get along with them.
Yeah.
Feel comfortable and safe, and especially with these kind of topics and just the intense scenes that you see and that we had to be a part of. If you don't feel safe with the person you're working with, it can make it really difficult. So thankfully, that was not a problem.
Wayfairer didn't outright accuse Blake of coaching Ferrer, but anyone with half a brain can see the implication. The language in Ferrer's filings doesn't scream independent voice. It screams someone reading a part from Blake's script. Think about it. This is a young actress still building her career, suddenly echoing word for word the narrative Blake has been shoving into the press. The optics couldn't be worse. It doesn't look like Ferrer is standing up for herself. It looks like Blake turned her co-star into a prop. And that's why this subplot matters. If Blake really is pulling strings behind the scenes, then her demands to silence Friedman aren't about protecting the jury. They're about making sure nobody, not even her co-stars, breaks character in her story. She doesn't want an equal playing field. She wants a script where everyone hits their lines on cue and no one improvises. The problem is, federal court doesn't work like a film set. Wayfairer nailed this too. On page 6 of the filing, they wrote, "The court should not permit plaintiff to manufacture outrage in the press while simultaneously seeking to gag her adversaries." That isn't just legal reasoning. That's a drag. It's the written equivalent of telling Blake to stop crying wolf after she set the fire herself. And then came the shade. Wayfairer's lawyers mocked the idea that Friedman's comments were swaying the public, pointing out that not everyone in Manhattan is glued to TMZ waiting for Blake Lively's next deposition update. That's when it hit me. Is there something wrong with me for eating popcorn while waiting for the next bit of information to drop? It was petty, it was cutting, and it was accurate. Blake wants to believe the entire world is hanging on her every legal filing. The reality is, outside of her own bubble, most people don't care. This is the irony. Blake has spent months trying to paint herself as the victim. The innocent starlet just seeking justice. But her own behavior betrays her. She tried to cancel Friedman. She pulled Ferrer into her corner like a weapon. She flooded the tabloids with her version of events. That's not the behavior of a victim. That's the behavior of someone desperate to control the narrative. Zoom out and the bigger picture becomes clear. This lawsuit isn't about harassment, it's about control. A normal lawsuit is about evidence, arguments, and letting the court decide. Blake's lawsuit is about whether she can rewrite reality and muzzle everyone who dares to contradict her. For the first time in her career, she is facing a stage she can't control. You can fool a glossy magazine. You can lean on your co-stars. You can file 100 motions to bury the other side, but the judge doesn't care about your curated Instagram aesthetic. This isn't Gossip Girl. It's federal court, and the audience isn't swooning anymore. Every move Blake makes backfires. Every time she cries about tainting the jury, she reminds everyone she's the one leaking to the tabloids. Every time she drags a co-star into the mud, she looks less like a plaintiff and more like a director giving notes. Every desperate attempt to seize control only exposes how little control she actually has. That's why Wayfairer's response landed so hard. It stripped away the victim act and showed exactly what's happening. Blake is trying to run this case like a PR campaign. She wants to gag Friedman, script Ferrer, and spoon-feed the public, her version of the story. And the filings laid it bare. The court isn't going to let her. So here we are. Blake Lively isn't losing because of Baldoni. She isn't losing because of Friedman. She is losing because her own desperate moves keep blowing up in her face. She wanted to silence Friedman, but all she did was amplify his voice. She wanted Ferrer to be her star witness, but now people just see a young actress parroting lines. She wanted to control the jury pool, but her filings are the very thing going viral. And before the comment section fills up with accusations that I am a paid shill, let me make this clear. I don't get a dime from Baldoni or Wayfairer. No checks, no favors, no whispered Hollywood deals. These are just my opinions, pulled directly from the documents, served with a side of pettiness because watching a PR empire collapse in real time is a rare kind of entertainment. If Blake thinks she can subpoena her way out of bad press, she's already lost. You can subpoena YouTubers, journalists, and half of Instagram, but you can't subpoena reality. And the reality is, every filing makes her look less like a victim and more like a celebrity desperate to control a story she no longer owns. If you're enjoying watching her PR empire collapse in real time, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. Because judging by the way she keeps tripping over her own legal filings, we're going to need a lot more popcorn to finish watching this train wreck.